The worst part about discovering your husband is planning to kill you is having to smile through dessert. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and for the past 5 years, I thought I knew everything about my husband. I was wrong, dead wrong, and if I had not kept one secret from him, I would have ended up exactly that, dead. This is the story of how a language I learned in college saved my life, and how the man I loved became the monster I had to destroy. It started on a Tuesday evening in October. Nothing about that day seemed unusual. I woke up next to Michael like I had every morning for 5 years. He kissed my forehead, told me he loved me, and headed to his home office for his morning calls. I made coffee, scrolled through my phone, and planned dinner for his business associates that evening. Michael worked in international commercial real estate. Big deals, complicated contracts. He traveled constantly, spent long hours on calls with overseas partners, and made enough money that I had quit my teaching job 2 years ago. Life was comfortable. Life was good, or so I thought. The dinner party was supposed to be simple. 3 Japanese investors who were considering a major development project with Michael's firm. Mr. Takashi, Mr. Nakamura, and Mr. Sato. I had met them briefly at a company function 6 months earlier. Polite, reserved, wealthy. I spent the afternoon preparing roasted salmon with herbs, wild rice pilaf, roasted vegetables, a chocolate torte for dessert. I set the dining room table with our wedding china candles, white wine chilling, everything perfect. Michael came down from his office at 6:30. He looked stressed. There were dark circles under his eyes I had not noticed that morning. "Are you okay?" I asked him. He smiled, but it did not reach his eyes. "It's just a big deal. A lot riding on tonight. These guys need to feel comfortable, confident. Could you just be your charming self?" I laughed. "I can manage that." He kissed my cheek. His lips were cold. The doorbell rang at 7 exactly. In Japanese business culture, values, punctuality. I knew that from my time in Tokyo, but Michael did not know I knew that. Michael did not know a lot of things about me. I opened the door with my brightest smile. "Mr. Takashi, Mr. Nakamura, Mr. Sato, welcome. Please come in." They bowed slightly. He did not bow back. That would have been a tell. Instead, I shook their hands and took their coats like any American hostess would. Michael appeared beside me, shaking hands, laughing, switching effortlessly into basic English pleasantries. He had picked up a few Japanese phrases for business. Konbanwa, arigato, gozaimasu, enough to seem respectful, but not enough to actually communicate. What he did not know was that I was fluent. I had studied Japanese language and literature at Berkeley. 4 years of intensive study. A year abroad in Tokyo after graduation, teaching English and perfecting my language skills. It was my passion before I met Michael. I had dreamed of becoming a translator, maybe working at the UN. Then I met Michael at a friend's wedding. Handsome, charming, successful. We fell in love fast. Got married within a year. And somewhere in the chaos of wedding planning and moving into his house and becoming a wife, my Japanese skills just never came up. It was not intentional at first. Then it became one of those things you do not mention because too much time has passed. How do you tell your husband of 5 years that you speak a language he has never heard you use? It seemed awkward, unnecessary, until that Tuesday night, when it became the only thing standing between me and a very carefully planned murder. Dinner started normally. I served the salmon. Michael poured wine. The conversation flowed in English. Real estate markets, economic trends, interest rates. I smiled and nodded and played the supportive wife who did not really understand business talk. Mr. Takashi complimented the meal. "Your wife is an excellent cook." Michael beamed at me. "She is perfect." "I am a very lucky man." I smiled back, refilled water glasses, brought out more bread. The perfect hostess. Then Mr. Nakamura said something in Japanese. Just a quick comment to Mr. Soto about the wine. Nothing important. But Michael did not understand it, and he assumed I did not either. That was when things started to shift. Mr. Takashi responded in Japanese. Then Mr. Sato. They were not trying to be rude. They were just comfortable, slipping into their native language for a moment. Michael laughed awkwardly, not understanding. I kept my face neutral, but inside, my heart rate increased slightly, because I understood every single word. They were talking about their flight, their hotel, small talk, nothing concerning. But then Michael did something that changed everything. He started speaking Japanese, not the basic phrases I had heard him use. Real Japanese. fluent Japanese, complete sentences with proper grammar and natural inflection. I almost dropped the serving spoon. My husband spoke Japanese, fluent Japanese. After 5 years of marriage, hundreds of conversations about his work with Japanese clients, countless trips to Tokyo where he claimed he struggled with the language barrier. He spoke Japanese like someone who'd lived there for years, and he had never told me. I forced my hand to stay steady as I served vegetables, forced my face to remain pleasantly blank, forced myself to breathe normally. The conversation continued in Japanese. Michael was discussing the development project, numbers, timelines, zoning issues, all normal business talk. But my mind was racing. Why had he hidden this from me? What else had he hidden? Then Mr. Takashi said something that made my blood freeze. So when will he move forward with the primary concern? Michael glanced at me. I was cutting my salmon, apparently oblivious to their foreign conversation. He looked back at Mr. Takashi. Soon, very soon. The insurance policy is finalized. Everything is in place. Mr. Nakamura nodded slowly. And you are certain it will appear natural? Michael's voice was calm, confident. I have been very careful. The life insurance policy is 2 years old, so no red flags. She has been complaining about headaches for months. He have been encouraging her to see a doctor, but she is stubborn. When it happens, everyone will assume it was a tragic medical event. An aneurysm perhaps, or a stroke. My hand was shaking now. I gripped my fork harder. The insurance amount? Mrs. Sato asked. $3 million? Michael sipped his wine. More than enough to cover my debts and finance the project properly. Mr. Takashi looked uncomfortable. And you are certain this is necessary? Perhaps there are other options. Michael's laugh was cold. Other options would take too long. This deal needs to close in 60 days or we lose the property. I need that capital. Besides, she has no family, no close friends. The investigation will be minimal. He was talking about killing me. My husband was calmly discussing my murder over the salmon I had cooked for him. I stood up, a smile fixed on my face. Excuse me, gentlemen, I need to check on dessert. My voice sounded normal, steady. I walked to the kitchen on legs that felt like water. In the kitchen, I gripped the counter, breathed, thought. $3 million life insurance policy. I remembered signing those papers 2 years ago. Michael said it was smart financial planning, protection for both of us. I had not thought anything of it. Headaches. Yes, I had been having headaches for about 3 months. Bad ones. Michael had been so concerned, had been bringing me special tea every morning. Herbal tea, he said, to help with stress. Oh God, the tea. I looked at the cabinet where he kept his special tea blend. The one he made for me every morning. The one he insisted I drink. Was he poisoning me? My hands were shaking so badly I could barely grip the cabinet handle. Inside were several packages of tea, all labeled in Michael's neat handwriting. Sarah's Morning Blend. I grabbed one and read the ingredients list. It meant nothing to me. Chamomile, valerian root, ginger, but there could be anything in there. Anything. From the dining room, I heard laughter. Michael saying something in Japanese. More laughter. I had to pull myself together. Had to think, if I confronted him now, what would happen? 3 large men and Michael. Me alone. If he was willing to kill me, if he had been slowly poisoning me for months, what would stop him from finishing the job tonight? I needed evidence. I needed proof. I needed to stay alive long enough to get help. I took out the chocolate torte, sliced it, plated it, added raspberry sauce and mint leaves. My hands steadied as I focused on the mechanical task. I could do this. I could pretend. I had been pretending not to understand Japanese my entire marriage. I'd pretend a little longer. When I returned to the dining room, everyone looked up. Dessert, I announced brightly. Michael smiled at me. That looks amazing. Honey, I served each man a slice, poured coffee, sat back down. The conversation had shifted back to English. Small talk about golf, the weather, safe topics. But every time they slipped back into Japanese, I listened. And what I heard made me realize the situation was even worse than I thought. Michael was not just planning to kill me for insurance money. He was already deeply in debt. Gambling debts, bad investments. He had embezzled money from his own firm to cover losses. The Japanese investors did not know this. They thought they were partnering with a successful developer. The truth was that Michael was broke, desperate, and drowning, and I was his life raft. Mr. Nakamura asked about Michael's finances. Michael lied smoothly in Japanese, assuring them his assets were substantial. He mentioned our house, his investment portfolio, his firm, all lies. I had seen our bank statements. I knew we had equity in the house, but everything else was mortgaged, leveraged, or fictional. When will he take action? Mr. Takashi asked quietly. This weekend. Michael looked at me. I smiled back at him. We are going to our cabin in Tahoe, just the two of us. A romantic getaway. Very remote, very private. My smile did not waver, but inside I was screaming. The cabin. I loved that cabin. We had spent our honeymoon there, anniversary weekends. It was a 3-hour drive into the mountains, miles from the nearest town. No cell service, no neighbors. The perfect place to kill someone. Dessert ended. I cleared plates, made more coffee, played my role perfectly. At 10:30, the Japanese investors thanked us and left. Michael closed the door behind them and turned to me with a genuine smile. That went perfectly. You were amazing tonight. I smiled back. I am glad. They seemed nice. He pulled me close and kissed me. His lips were warm now, alive, excited. This deal is going to change everything for us, Sarah, everything. I hugged him back. That is wonderful. He pulled away. I need to make a few calls. Go ahead and go to bed. I will be up soon. Okay. I kissed his cheek. Don't work too late. I would not. I went upstairs, brushed my teeth, changed into pajamas, got into bed, turned off the light, and waited. 20 minutes later, Michael came upstairs. He undressed quietly in the dark, slipped into bed beside me. Within minutes his breathing deepened. He was asleep. I waited another 30 minutes to be sure. Then I slowly, carefully, slid out of bed. I needed evidence. I needed proof of everything I had heard tonight. His home office was downstairs. He kept it locked, but I knew where he hid the spare key, behind a loose brick in the fireplace. I had found it years ago while cleaning and never mentioned it. Another secret between us. The office was dark and did not turn on lights. Instead, I used my phone flashlight, keeping it low and covered. His desk was organized, files neatly labeled, computer password protected. But I knew his passwords. He used the same one for everything. Our wedding date. I logged into his computer and started searching. The life insurance policy was easy to find. $3 million. Beneficiary, Michael James Mitchell. Signed 2 years ago. Everything he had said was true. I found bank statements next. The picture was worse than I thought. Credit cards maxed out. Investment accounts empty. A home equity loan I did not know about. Gambling debts to people with names like Tony the Shark and Dimitri. My husband owed over $2 million to dangerous people. I kept searching, found emails, threats from creditors, desperate messages to the Japanese investors, lies about his financial situation. That I found something that stopped my heart. A file labeled Sarah Medical Records. I opened it. Inside were forged medical documents, reports from doctors I had never seen, MRIs I had never had, a detailed medical history documenting a congenital brain condition I did not have, aneurysm risk, documented headaches, family history of strokes, all fake. He had been building a paper trail, creating a medical history that would make my sudden death seem inevitable. Cliffs expected. Even I took photos of everything with my phone. The insurance policy, the bank statements, the fake medical records, the threatening emails, everything. Then I found the worst file of all. Weekend plans. Inside was a detailed timeline. Saturday morning, drive to Tahoe. Saturday afternoon, hike to the remote waterfall we loved. Saturday evening, cook dinner. Sunday morning, the accident. He had planned it out. Every detail. The hiking trail where I would fall. The head injury that would kill me. The panicked call to emergency services. The grieving husband. There was even a draft of the 911 call he planned to make. My wife, she fell. Please help. We were hiking and she slipped. She is not breathing. There is so much blood. Please hurry. I felt bile rise in my throat. This was not a crime of passion. This was not a desperate man making a terrible choice in the moment. This was calculated, premeditated, cold-blooded murder. And I had 3 days to stop it. I copied every file onto a thumb drive I found in his desk, cleared the computer history, locked the office, replaced the key. Back in bed, I lay in the dark next to my husband, the man who had promised to love and cherish me. The man who was planning to bash my head in on a hiking trail and call it an accident. I did not sleep that night. By morning, I had a plan. Michael came down at 7, showered and dressed for work. I was in the kitchen making breakfast, eggs, toast, and his coffee. Morning. Beautiful. He kissed my cheek. Sleep well. Great. I smiled. Coffee, please. I handed him his mug. He took a sip and sighed contentedly. Perfect. What would I do without you? I smiled. Hopefully you will never have to find out. He laughed. Never. You were stuck with me forever. Forever. I kept smiling. Hey, are we still on for Tahoe this weekend? Absolutely. I am looking forward to it. Just us. No phones. No work. Just relaxing. It sounds perfect. And it would be. But not the way he planned. After Michael left for work, I got to work on my own plan. First, I went to the bank. Withdrew $5,000 cash from our joint account. Not enough to raise red flags, but enough to work with. Second, I called my college roommate, Jennifer. We had not spoken in over a year, but we had been close once. I needed someone I could trust. Jen, it is Sarah. Sarah, oh my God, how are you? It has been forever. I need your help. I cannot explain everything right now, but I need a place to stay for a few days. Can I come to you? There was a pause. Sarah, are you okay? Is something wrong? Please, Jen. I will explain everything when I see you. Can I come? Of course. Yes. When? Tomorrow. I will text you when I am on my way. Okay, Sarah. You are scaring me. I know. I am sorry. I will explain everything. I promise. Third, I called a divorce attorney. Left a voicemail asking for an emergency consultation. Explained I needed help with a dangerous situation. Fourth, I went to the police station. This was the hardest part, because I had no proof that would hold up in court. It had not been poisoned yet. No crime had been committed yet. All I had was a conversation in a language my husband did not know I spoke, and files on his computer that could be explained away, but I needed to create a record, a paper trail of my own. I asked to speak to a detective, was shown to a small office where a tired-looking woman in her 40s introduced herself as Detective Sarah Martinez. How can I help you? I took a breath. My husband is planning to kill me this weekend. I showed her everything, played the recording I had made on my phone during dinner, translating the Japanese conversation, showed her the photos of the files, the insurance policy, the fake medical records, the weekend plan. Detective Martinez listened carefully, took notes, asked questions. When I finished, she sat back in her chair. Mrs. Mitchell, I believe you. Everything you have shown me is concerning. But the truth is, we cannot arrest someone for planning a crime, especially when the evidence is obtained without a warrant from his private computer. So you cannot help me? I did not say that. What I can do is create a report, document everything you have told me, so if something happens to you, we have this conversation on record, and I can give you advice on how to stay safe. She told me not to go to Tahoe, told me to leave my husband immediately, told me to file for divorce and get a restraining order. But here is the problem, she said gently. If you do all that and nothing happens, he will know you are onto him. And if he is as dangerous as you say, he might escalate. He might do something rash. So what do I do? You could go to Tahoe with him. Let us wire you. Put officers nearby. Catch him in the act. I stared at her. You want me to let him try to kill me? We would not let anything happen to you. We would have officers positioned on the trail. The moment he makes a move, we stop him. And then we have him for attempted murder. It was insane, risky, dangerous. It was also the only way to make sure Michael went to prison for what he planned to do. I will think about it, I said. Think quickly. Detective Martinez handed me her card. You have until Friday to decide. If you are going to do this, I need to coordinate with Tahoe PD, get a team in place. I left the station with her card in my hand and a decision to make. That night, Michael came home excited. He had been finalizing details with the Japanese investors. Everything was moving forward. He was in a great mood. Over dinner, he talked about our weekend plans, the hike we would take, the stars we would see, how romantic it would be. I smiled and nodded and played along. That night, he made love to me, tender and sweet. Afterward, he held me close. I love you so much, Sarah. You know that, right? I know, I whispered. You are the best thing that ever happened to me. I wanted to scream, wanted to scratch his eyes out, wanted to ask him how he could hold me like this while planning to murder me in 2 days. Instead, I said, I love you too. He fell asleep with his arm around me. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. By morning, I had made my decision. I called Detective Martinez. "I will do it," I said. "I will wear a wire. I will go to Tahoe. I will let you catch him." "Are you sure, Mrs. Mitchell? This is not something you can change your mind about once we start." "I am sure." "Okay, come to the station tomorrow. We will get you fitted with the equipment. And I promise you, Sarah, we will keep you safe." I wanted to believe her. Friday morning, Michael was almost giddy as we packed for Tahoe. He kept hugging me, kissing me, telling me how much he needed this trip. "Me too," I told him. "I really need this." And I did. I needed this nightmare to end. At the police station, Detective Martinez and a tech specialist fitted me with a wire. It was tiny, hidden in the clasp of my necklace. Waterproof. Voice activated. Impossible to detect unless someone knew to look for it. They showed me the GPS tracker they would be monitoring, explained that plainclothes officers would be positioned along the hiking trail, gave me a code word to use if I felt an immediate danger. "Pineapple. If you say the word pineapple in any context, we move in immediately." I nodded, tried to ignore the panic rising in my chest. Detective Martinez squeezed my hand. "You are very brave, Sarah. We are going to get this guy." "I hope so." The drive to Tahoe took 3 hours. Michael was relaxed, happy, holding my hand while he drove. He talked about the future, about the development deal, about traveling, about growing old together. Lies. All lies. We arrived at the cabin in the late afternoon. It was exactly as I remembered. Cozy, rustic, surrounded by pine trees and mountain air. Michael carried our bags inside, made a fire, opened wine. "This is perfect," he said, pulling me close. Just us, I echoed. That night, we made dinner together. Pasta, salad, more wine. We sat on the couch by the fire and talked about nothing important. He was affectionate, attentive, the perfect husband. It made my skin crawl. "Tomorrow, let's do the waterfall hike," he suggested. "The one we did on our honeymoon. Remember?" I remember. "It was beautiful. It will be beautiful again." He kissed my forehead. "Early morning is the best time. We can watch the sunrise from the trail." "Sounds perfect." We went to bed early. Michael fell asleep quickly. I lay awake, listening to his breathing, wondering what tomorrow would bring. Saturday morning came too soon. Michael woke me at dawn, kissed me awake. "Morning, sleepy head. Time for our hike." I got dressed. He gains. Hiking boots, a sweatshirt, the necklace with the wire. Michael packed a backpack with water, snacks, a first aid kit. I wondered what else was in there. A weapon, something to make sure I did not survive. We drove to the trailhead just as the sun was rising. The parking lot was empty. No other cars, no other hikers, but I knew the police were out there, somewhere, watching. Redin Michael took my hand. Redin. The trail was steep, narrow. It wound through dense forest, climbing higher and higher. The sound of the waterfall grew louder as we hiked. Michael was chatty, pointing out birds, trees, the view, acting like this was just a normal hike with his wife. But I noticed things. The way he kept checking his watch, the way he guided me toward the right side of the trail, closer to the edge, the way his hand tightened on mine when we reached the rocky section. This is it, I thought. This is where he planned to do it. The waterfall came into view, spectacular, cascading down rocks into a clear pool below. The sunrise hit the water, creating rainbows in the mist. It is beautiful, I breathed. Michael stood behind me, put his hands on my shoulders. Sarah, there is something I need to tell you. My heart stopped. I've not been honest with you about a lot of things. I turned to face him. His eyes were strange, cold. I am in trouble, financial trouble, and I need you to know that I am sorry for everything. Michael, what are you talking about? His hands moved to my arms, gripping tight. I need the insurance money, Sarah. I need it to survive, and I am so sorry, but I do not have a choice. He started pushing me toward the edge. This is it. This is where I die. But then I remembered the code word, the promise Detective Martinez made. Michael, wait, I gasped. Before you do this, I need to tell you something. What I know about the Japanese investors. I know about your debts. I know everything you said at dinner Tuesday night. His face went white. What are you talking about? I speak Japanese, Michael, fluently. I heard every word you said. Every word about your plan to kill me. About the insurance policy. About making it look like an accident. His grip loosened slightly. You what? I heard everything. And just so you know, pineapple. What? That is the code word. For the police who have been listening to this entire conversation through the wire I am wearing. They are on this trail right now. And you are under arrest. For a moment, Michael just stared at me. Then he looked around wildly. You are lying. Am I? From the trees behind us, Detective Martinez appeared. Then 2 more officers. Then 3 more. Michael James Mitchell, you were under arrest for attempted murder and conspiracy to commit murder. Michael lunged at me, but the officers were faster. They tackled him to the ground, cuffed him, read him his rights. He was screaming, calling me names, cursing, threatening. I just stood there, shaking, while Detective Martinez put a hand on my shoulder. You did it, Sarah? You got him? I started crying then. Huge, gasping sobs. All the fear and stress and terror of the past 4 days came pouring out. Detective Martinez held me while I cried. All officers led Michael away, while the beautiful waterfall cascaded behind us, indifferent to the ugliness of human nature. The aftermath was long and complicated. Michael was charged with attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, and embezzlement. The evidence from his computer, combined with the recording of him trying to push me off the cliff, was overwhelming. He tried to claim I had entrapped him, that I had manipulated the situation. But the fake medical records, the detailed murder plan, the 2 years of life insurance payments, all painted a clear picture of premeditation. The Japanese investors were horrified when they learned the truth. They immediately pulled out of the deal and cooperated fully with investigators. Michael's gambling debts came to light. The people he owed money to were arrested on separate charges. The whole thing unraveled like a badly knit sweater. He was convicted on all counts, sentenced to 25 years in prison. I divorced him while he was awaiting trial, got a restraining order, changed my name back to my maiden name. The insurance company tried to deny the payout, claiming I had known about Michael's plans, but my attorney argued successfully that the policy was taken out under false pretenses and that I was the intended victim. They settled out of court for $1.5 million. I used some of the money to go back to school, got my master's degree in translation, started working as a Japanese interpreter for the court system. It seemed fitting, somehow, using the language that saved my life to help others navigate the legal system. I still think about that Tuesday night dinner party sometime, about how close I came to drinking that poisoned tea for months without knowing, about how close I came to going on that Tahoe hike without the wire, without the police, without any way to protect myself, about how one small secret, one language I happened to know, made all the difference between life and death. I also think about trust, about how well we think we know the people we love, about how easy it is to hide in plain sight. Michael and I shared a bed for 5 years, shared meals, conversations, dreams, intimacy, and I never truly knew him, never suspected what he was capable of, but he never truly knew me either, never knew that I understood every word of his plan, never knew that I was smart enough and strong enough to turn his own weapon against him. The last time I saw Michael was at his sentencing. He looked smaller, somehow diminished. When our eyes met across the courtroom, I did not see the man I married. I saw a stranger who had tried to kill me for money. The judge asked if I wanted to make a victim impact statement. I stood up, walked to the podium, looked Michael in the eye. I spoke in Japanese. I told him that he had underestimated me, that his biggest mistake was assuming I was weak, oblivious, and easy to dispose of, that the language he thought gave him privacy had instead given me the information I needed to survive. Then I switched to English. I hope you spend every day of your sentence thinking about how close you came. How, if you had just been honest with me about your financial problems, we could have worked together to solve them. How, if you had just asked for a divorce instead of planning murder, you would be a free man right now. But you chose murder. You chose to see me as an obstacle instead of a partner. And now you will spend the next 25 years paying for that choice. The judge sentenced him immediately after. Micah was led away in handcuffs without another word. I walked out of that courtroom a free woman. 5 years have passed since that night. I live in a different city now. Smaller apartment. Simpler life. I date occasionally, but I am in no rush to remarry. I have learned to be happy on my own. I still have nightmares sometimes. Dreams where I am falling off that cliff. Where Detective Martinez does not show up in time. Where Michael succeeds in his plan. But I also have good dreams. Dreams where I am speaking Japanese, where I am using my language skills to help people, where I am strong and capable and alive. Because I am alive. Against all odds, despite my husband's careful planning, despite the poison and the lies and the calculated cruelty, I survived. And I survived because of something he never knew about me, a skill he never suspected, the secret I kept not to deceive him, but simply because it never came up. It is funny how life works that way, how the smallest details can change everything, how one language, learned in college and perfected in Tokyo, could be the difference between life and death. These days, when I meet new people, I am more honest about myself. I tell them about my Japanese skills, about my time in Tokyo, about my work as a court interpreter, but I do not tell them about Michael, about the dinner party, about the wire and the waterfall and the attempted murder. That is my story, my secret, my survival. Some people ask me if I am angry, if I hate Michael for what he tried to do. The truth is, I am not angry anymore. Anger takes energy, and I have better things to do with my energy than waste it on a man in prison. What I feel is sadness. Sadness for the relationship I thought we had. Sadness for the naive woman I was who believed in fairy tale love. Sadness for the years I spent with someone who was capable of such calculated evil. But I also feel grateful. Grateful that I learned Japanese. Grateful that I kept that one secret. Grateful that Detective Martinez believed me. Grateful that I am still here, still breathing, still living my life. This morning, I made myself tea. Not the poisoned blend Michael used to prepare, but my own blend. Green tea with honey and lemon. I sat by my window, watching the sunrise, and thought about how many sunrises Michael wanted to take from me, but he failed. I am still here, still watching sunrises, still living. And that is my revenge, not his suffering in prison, not the public shame or the lost dreams or the wasted years. My revenge is simply continuing to exist, to thrive, to be happy. Because the best way to defeat someone who tried to erase you is to live your life as loudly and fully as possible. My name is Sarah Mitchell, though I go by my maiden name now. I speak Japanese fluently. I've survived a calculated murder plot, and I am still here. That is my story. That is my truth. And I am telling it now so that if anyone else out there is living with someone who seems too good to be true, who has secrets they cannot quite explain, who makes them tea every morning and promises forever while planning their end, they know to pay attention, to trust their instincts, but to keep their own secrets, to be ready to fight for their lives, because sometimes the person sleeping next to you is the most dangerous person in your world, and sometimes the only way to survive is to know something they do not know you know. For me, it was Japanese. For someone else, it might be something different, a password, a conversation, a document. But the principle is the same. Knowledge is power. Secrets can save lives, and underestimating someone can be fatal. Michael underestimated me. He thought I was simple, trusting, easy to dispose of. He was wrong, and now I am free, and he is not. And every morning when I wake up and make my tea and watch the sunrise, I think about how different things could have been, how I could be dead, how he could have gotten away with it, how $3 million could have been his, and my life could have been over, but it did not happen that way, because I knew something he did not know. I knew, and that made all the difference. So to anyone reading this, listening to this, hearing this story, remember this: keep your own counsel, know your worth, trust your instincts, and never, ever let someone underestimate you, because the moment someone thinks you are less than you are, that is the moment you have the advantage, and that advantage might just save your life. Mine did. And I am still here to tell the tale. In Japanese, there is a phrase, Nana karobi yaoki. It means fall down 7 times, stand up 8. I fell hard when I discovered my husband was trying to kill me, but I stood back up, and I kept standing. That is the lesson. That is the truth. That is the story. My husband did not know I spoke Japanese. What he said at dinner changed everything, and I am still here, still standing, still speaking, still surviving. And that is how my story ends. Not with my death on a mountain trail, but with my life continuing, thriving, persisting. Because some secrets are meant to be kept, and some secrets are meant to save you. Mine did both. And I am grateful. Every single day, I am grateful to be alive. Arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you for listening, for believing. for understanding. This was my story. This was my truth. This was how I survived. And I hope, if you ever need it, you find your own secret, your own advantage, your own way to survive. Because we all deserve to see another sunrise, to drink another cup of tea, to live another day, even when someone we love decides we should not. Especially then, stay safe, stay smart, stay alive. That is what I learned from the night my husband did not know I spoke Japanese. And that is what I want you to learn too.